if anyone's feeling really dark, like go read that post. Like it has saved hundreds of lives, and it doesn't sugarcoat anything. The reason I wrote that is I was at an event in San Francisco at the time, being interviewed on stage. I got off, and a couple of people came over, and there's a small circle around me. They wanted books signed and things like that. And this really nice guy, dressed up in a suit and everything for the event, gave me this book, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just wanted you to sign this for my brother." And I was like, "Sure, no problem. What would you like me to say to your brother?" And he just kind of froze, and it was like a weird uh, interaction. I couldn't quite figure it out, but I was like, "You know what? I tell you what, let's chat afterwards. You can think about it for a bit. I'll sign it afterwards." And then I went on and interacted with everybody else. And then as I was walking back to the elevator to leave, he joined me, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm really sorry I froze, but my brother killed himself. And my mom has kept his room exactly as it was. And he was such a huge fan of yours. And I just wasn't sure what to put in the book." And ended up signing the book. I gave it to him, and he's like, "Have you ever thought about talking about anything related to mental health?" He's like, "Because my brother listened to you." And I was like, fuck. Okay. And it took me months. I was not committed to publishing it, but I spent months working on this piece, some practical thoughts on suicide. And then, my parents didn't really know, right? Because I'd lied.
Mm-hmm.
Family didn't know. Best friends didn't know. And,
Damn, man.
and I certainly like it's like the two things that I would say I'm proudest of in terms of publishing. Probably, if I had to pick two, it'd be the blog post on suicide, right? Some practical thoughts on suicide, and then the podcast during COVID on the childhood abuse, which also, like, parents didn't know about, nobody knew about.
Your
Only
parents didn't know about that?
nobody, nobody knew, because I didn't want them to blame themselves. I had intended to like write a book after they passed away, so they wouldn't blame themselves. And then during COVID, right? This is early COVID. People don't know what's coming. Like it's scary, right? Like, and I remember I had flown to Costa Rica to have some optionality in terms of travel. I was like, all right, let me figure out what's going on here. Like a friend of mine who works with a lot of hedge fund managers had given me a very early heads up on COVID, and I was like, oh, this is bad. This could be really bad. Let's try to preserve as much optionality as possible. We're leaving now. So I ended up in Costa Rica, and we're sitting there having a meal, and somehow this came up because she knew about it. There were two girlfriends, like long-term girlfriends. Because as I was mentioning earlier, when you're like cauterized and compartmentalized, like there are a lot of relationship costs. So that works up to a point, and then you hit a wall, and suddenly it doesn't work. And so with these girlfriends who are 3, 4, 5, 6 years, right? There was a point where I shared with these two women specifically, I guess it was three long-term girlfriends, about the abuse. And this one girlfriend, I was talking about writing the book, and she's like, we're sitting in the middle of COVID. She's like, have you ever thought about how many people are going to die of natural or unnatural causes before you ever write that book? Like it's going to be 10 years, 15 years. She was like, why don't you do a podcast? And I was like, because I don't want to talk to my parents. I don't want to talk to my friends. Like, it's too vulnerable. It's too vulnerable. But ultimately, I had a friend, Debbie Millman, amazing human being, incredible graphic artist, teacher,